years passed swiftly, filled with hard work, achievements, and moments of longing. James had completed his master's degree with honors, and his work in community outreach had garnered attention and respect. But as his time in the United States ended, his thoughts turned increasingly towards home and Vivian. The day of his return was one of mixed emotions. He was excited to reunite with his family and Vivian, but he also felt responsible for using his education and experience to make a difference in Nigeria. As the plane descended into Lagos, James looked out the window, feeling a surge of anticipation and determination. At the airport, a small crowd awaited him. His family was there, their faces beaming with pride, and at the front stood Vivian, her smile brighter than ever. James's heart leaped as he saw her. The moment he stepped off the plane, she ran into his arms, and they embraced tightly, the months of separation melting away in that instant. Her sweet smell caressed his nose, and his gentle hands caressed her shoulders. "I missed you so much, James," Vivian whispered, tears of joy strolling down her face. "I missed you too, Vivian. I'm home now," James replied, his voice choked with emotion. He pulled out to look at her beautiful face once again. He missed her indeed. They spent the first few days blending in with each other and their surroundings. James's family welcomed him with open arms, celebrating his achievements and return. Vivian's parents, too, had come to accept James, impressed by his accomplishments and the strength of his character. Traveling and coming home in peace would only take a determined young man. James quickly set to work on his plans to fix things around him. He had always dreamed of improving educational opportunities for underprivileged children in rural areas, and now he had the knowledge and resources to make it a reality. With Vivian's support, he founded a non-profit organization that provided access to quality education and resources for needy children. The initial months were challenging. Securing funding, building a team, and navigating bureaucratic hurdles required relentless effort. But James's passion and determination, coupled with Vivian's influence and support, drove the project forward. Vivian's connections helped open doors, and her background in business proved invaluable in managing the organization's logistics and finances. Their work began to gain traction, and soon, they established several learning centers in rural communities. These centers provided not only education but also meals and healthcare, addressing some of the critical needs of the children and their families. The impact was profound, and the local communities embraced James and Vivian's efforts with gratitude and enthusiasm. As the organization grew, so did the bond between James and Vivian. They faced every challenge together, drawing strength from their shared vision and love. Their journey had been difficult, but it had made them stronger and more united. One evening, as they sat under the stars, much like they had in the camp years ago, James took Vivian's hand. "Vivian, we've come so far together. I can't imagine doing this without you." Vivian smiled, her eyes shining with love. "We've made a great team, James, and we'll keep making a difference together." James took a deep breath, his heart pounding. "Vivian, will you marry me?" Vivian's eyes widened in surprise and joy. "Yes, James. 1,000 times yes." The months leading up to James and Vivian's wedding were filled with excitement and anticipation. Their love story had captured the hearts of many, and their upcoming union was seen as a testament to the power of love and perseverance. The couple decided to hold the ceremony in Lagos, blending traditional Nigerian customs with modern elements, reflecting their unique journey. Vivian's parents, who had initially been skeptical of their relationship, were fully supportive. They enthusiastically threw themselves into the wedding preparations, eager to give their daughter the wedding of her dreams. Though not as wealthy, James's family contributed in their own meaningful ways, ensuring that the celebration was a true blend of both worlds. She donned bright and beautiful on the wedding day, a fitting backdrop for the joyous occasion. Vivian looked stunning in her traditional attire, her elegance enhanced by the intricate designs and vibrant colors. James, dressed in matching traditional attire, couldn't take his eyes off her as she walked down the aisle. The ceremony was a blend of cultures and traditions. They incorporated elements from both backgrounds, celebrating their union with a mix of Yoruba and Igbo customs. The air was filled with music, laughter, and the blessings of their loved ones. As they exchanged vows, James's voice trembled with emotion. "Vivian, you've been my strength, inspiration, and partner. I promise to love you, support you, and build a future with you, no matter our challenges." Vivian's eyes glistened with tears as she responded, "James, you are my rock, confidant, and greatest love. I vow to stand by you, to cherish you, and to face every obstacle together." The following reception was a grand affair filled with dancing, feasting, and heartfelt speeches. Friends and family shared stories of James and Vivian's journey, highlighting the challenges they had overcome and the love that had carried them through. It was a night of celebration, not just of their marriage but of their resilience and commitment to each other. Amidst the festivities, James and Vivian stole a moment for themselves. They stepped outside, the night air cool and refreshing. Under the stars, much like they had done many times before, they reflected on how far they had come. "This is just the beginning, Vivian," James said, holding her close. "We have so much more to achieve, so many dreams to fulfill." Vivian smiled, resting her head on his shoulder. "And we'll do it together, James. Always together." Their wedding was more than a union of two individuals. It merged their dreams, hopes, and determination to make a difference. They knew their journey was far from over, but they were ready to face it side by side, with love as their guiding light. Marriage life brought new adventures and responsibilities for James and Vivian. With their love as a solid foundation, they continued to pour their hearts into their non-profit organization. Their shared vision of providing educational opportunities for underprivileged children became the driving force behind their every action. Everything seemed all right and moving fine until one lovely, even as Vivian and James sat to a movie in their living room, and a text peeped Vivian's phone. Her smile faded as she took her eyes off the TV to read the text. "Vivian, that was awesome. I saw all you did at the wedding. No matter how you try to keep us a secret, I will never let him have you to himself." Vivian looked at James and then at her phone screen. She cleared her throat and got up to leave. "Where to?" James asked. "I have forgotten to turn off the gas properly. Let me check it out." Vivian went to the kitchen and pulled out her phone to reply to the message. "I have told you to stay away from me. I am a married woman and I apologize for crying out loud. Leave me alone." She pushed the send button in anger. He is such an annoying pain in the ass. How dare he send her a text at such an ungodly hour? She murmured to herself. "Is everything all right, Vivian?" James's voice echoed from the living room. "Yes, my love," Vivian replied as she propelled into the living room. She kissed James's lips, then sat resting in his arms. As they laughed over a funny scene, another text came in. Vivian checked it was from the same number. She locked her screen. It would be useless to reply to him, making him send more texts. The next thing was a call from the number. Vivian looked at her screen in anger. The caller should have considered James's presence. Perhaps he intends to get James's attention to what has happened between him and Vivian. "Who could be calling you at this hour of the night?" James asked. "It's one of the parents trying to get his child into one of the schools." Vivian should have saved the number. "Let me speak with her. I will be with you shortly," she said, leaving for the kitchen. "What is your problem? How can you be so inconsiderate to call me at this hour of the day?" she said aloud, knowing James would hear from the living room. "Vivian, you know I love you so much. Forget about that man, and let's be together. He left you here for a year. I was the one taking care of you. I love you, Vivian." The caller spoke passionately. "You must be out of your mind to say that to me," Vivian whispered. At some point in the conversation, she would raise her voice at the caller to keep James's suspicions in check. "I have nothing to do with you. We were just friends. I don't and will never love or have anything to do with you." Vivian peeked into the living room and James sat down, focused on the movie. "Please call me tomorrow. I need to rest," she yelled, ended the call, and returned to James. "What does she want that can't wait until tomorrow?" he asked. "She is just impatient, that's her problem," replied Vivian. She sighed, then fell into James's arms. A call came in again, and she switched off her phone completely this time. The next morning, while James prepared to catch up with a set appointment, Vivian focused on preparing breakfast. She couldn't bring herself to sleep all night. The thought of several text messages he sent kept her from sleeping. He would stop at nothing until he got her. "You are not prepared to go out. Don't you have an appointment with a parent calling you last night?" James asked as he sat to have breakfast. "I do, but that should be later in the day. The house is dirty. I need to fix it before leaving. Who knows, I might not come home early today." It would only be possible for her to come home early once she has trashed out her issue with the caller. Putting her marriage at risk would be a great loss. She has no idea what he is capable of doing. It would be best to have it all fixed, pay him off to leave her alone. Whatever his price, it would be worth saving her marriage. "If you say so," James said, taking one more bite from the delicious bake Vivian specially made for him. "I will see you when I get back," he said, grabbing his car key from the table. "Don't forget to call me if you have challenges," he said, kissing her lips. Then he zoomed out of the house, leaving her to the sweet smell of his exciting presence. James's car vanished into the streets. Vivian, watching from the window, took a deep breath. She hurried to her room to get dressed. The caller has already left her with 12 missed calls and 7 messages. She threw the phone aside and then jumped into a jeans trouser and a designer polo James bought for her while in the States. An enclosed club existed 5 minutes' drive from Vivian's house. The caller arrived before her, and she joined him at a table when she arrived. He had a silly smile as he saw her walk through the door. "Start talking," Vivian said furiously. "Don't be mad at me. I miss you so much, Vivian." Vivian flipped. "You must be very stupid. I have told you, Daniel, that I have nothing to do with you. Why are you trying to spoil my marriage?" "That guy doesn't deserve you," Daniel yelled back. "And you think I would ever leave him for someone like you? That can only be in your stinking dreams. If I can't have you, Vivian, no one else will." Daniel's face retained the seriousness in his words. Vivian never thought for once he would be a problem to her. Yes, they had something in the past, even before she met James. He broke her heart a few weeks before she went to camp. James was the reason she got over the heartbreak. But she never told him about Daniel. Well, he never asked for a single day. And Daniel only showed up again a few weeks before James arrived in Nigeria. "You are such an evil person, Daniel. I regret the day I agreed to forgive you for all you did to me. I regret ever stepping foot into your house." Vivian could barely control her anger. "You didn't regret what happened between us, did you?" Daniel rubbed her mistake on her face once more. That has been his only hold on her since he found out about James's plans to marry her. "We dated for 4 years, Vivian. We were inseparable until you decided to make me look like a loser." "Don't go there, Daniel," Vivian shuts him up. "You left me because I refused to convince my father to send you abroad. You are selfish, and I should have seen it long beforehand." With tears in her eyes. "I gave you everything, my body, my life, but it wasn't enough for you." Daniel tried to come close, but she backed off from him. "Don't come close to me. Just leave me alone in peace." She wiped her eyes. "I am married to the man of my heart. Just accept it and leave me alone." Daniel chuckled fiendishly. "That will never happen. I broke you, Vivian. You belong to me, not to him." Vivian stood speechless. Her mind traveled back to all that happened between them. We are meant for each other. Come back to me, Vivian. Daniel tried to hold her hands, but Vivian backed off a step. Daniel chuckled again. Name your price, Daniel, Vivian said without hesitation. Daniel has always been a money rat. The only reason he stayed in a relationship with her was the money. She knew it, and that was why it was easy to get him out of her head until the recent incident that sparked his madness. 2 days later, Vivian went to visit her parents. Her mom said she wanted to see her and that it was urgent. With James's permission, Vivian went to the Okafors to visit her mother. It felt like her presence never left the house. All her things were in place as she left them at her matrimonial home. You must be wondering why everything is still the way you left it, Mrs. Okafor said, sneaking behind Vivian, who stood in her room gazing at nothing with the thought of how to get over her issue with Daniel. She fell back to reality at the sound of her mother's voice. Your father refused me gifting some of these things to the motherless home. I have talked, but he won't let a pin move out of this room. Vivian took a deep breath and released a relentless sigh. You know father would not want my presence out of this house. Don't push with it so you won't get on his bad side, she said to her mother. I know, but... Mother, leave things the way they are. I will have kids, and they will want to visit here. They will stay in my room. Mrs. Okafor's eyes widened. She never thought that to be why her husband wouldn't let her move a pin. Vivian, you don't seem okay to me. What could be the issue? Are you having difficulties with your husband? Vivian looked at her mother and dashed a fake smile. If only Mrs. Okafor knew the pain she has been through ever since she married, she would pray down thunder to strike Daniel wherever he was. It's nothing, Mom. I am okay, she said, returning to the living room downstairs. Vivian, you know you can't hide this one from me. What is the matter? Talk to me. At that moment, Vivian burst into tears and began spilling out details of her past encounter with her ex-boyfriend Daniel, whose past impact on the poor girl replayed in Mrs. Okafor's head. Vivian didn't leave a stone untouched this time. Daniel has to be stopped before he destroys her marriage with James. How could you have let that gold digger into your life again after all he did to you? Mrs. Okafor grew furious. Daniel brought shame to their family. He insulted what they stood for and made away with the act. I never expected things to turn out this way. I didn't know he lied to me, Vivian said with tears in her eyes. I don't want to lose my marriage, Mother. Mrs. Okafor took hold of Vivian, asking her not to cry anymore. She promised Vivian they would get to the root of the matter and ensure Daniel rots in jail. When Vivian arrived home that evening, James sat in the living room with a long face. She walked in and greeted him but got a cold response. Hey, are you okay? She asked. Maybe I will be after you have explained this to me, he said, handing an envelope over to Vivian. Vivian took the envelope with nothing in mind. Her lips dropped when she saw the first content of the envelope. Vivian collapsed on the couch as she pulled out the envelope's contents. The brown paper contained a photo of herself and Daniel kissing. Somewhere naked pictures of them in bed. This not true, James. Something needs to be fixed here. These pictures are fake. I am not the one here. You must believe me, James. James chuckled. Am I the one in the pictures? That is your face with a strange guy, naked in his bed. How could you, Vivian? He asked, his voice cloaked in disappointment. I can explain, James. It's not what you think. Yes, James replied. What it thinks is that I am not okay for you, and you decided to cheat on me with another man. No, James. I swear I didn't do anything with that guy. The pictures were faces, but the love letter accompanying them made it look real. Is this fake too? James asked as he threw a letter on Vivian. The text messages, are those fake? He asked again. James kept his temper low. Never has he laid hands on a woman. He will never do that to Vivian. He loves her like a fly loves to bother a moo. Right there, a call came into Vivian's phone. Daniel will stop at nothing until he gets what he wants.